YouTube, welcome to my channel, Anna Bella, and today I'm going to be doing a film review. The film I'm going to be reviewing is called The Phantom Thread, and it came out in 2017. I also call it The House of Woodcock. It is exactly 2 hours and 20 minutes. It has flashbacks and flash forwards in. It's set in the 1950s, post-war London. And it tells the supposed tale of a high-end fashion house that's totally made up but based on the reality of the day. Except this fashion house is called the House of Woodcock. It is run by a brother and a sister. The brother makes the dresses, the sister does all the business side, so she deals with all the money and everything to allow his name is Reynolds Woodcock, genius to come through. Make of that what you will. It is Daniel Day-Lewis's final film, supposedly, and it also has Vicky Krieps and Leslie Manville in. All three of the leads are superb in this film. There is not a foot wrong. The music is excellent, the lighting is excellent, the colour palette obviously is excellent. Everything in a shot is there for a purpose. Reynolds is quite a man-child / toxic masculinity. We'll get into that later. There's also toxic femininity in this because his House of Woodcock, there's one bloke and all the women, all his workers are women. So he's got sewers that are women. His sister does his accounts because he's incapable of doing so. He's got a vast army of staff all in white, so it's very clinical, very clean. He's got all his doors, all his locks, everything in his world is constructed and it's fake and it's total farce, and his sister acknowledges it. It is a fascinating story. We open with Reynolds getting tired of his current girlfriend / muse. She wants to give him buns at breakfast. He's having none of it. His sister Cyril picks up on this and understands that Reynolds is perhaps ready to move on to his next muse. Reynolds goes on holiday. He has a rather large breakfast because he's a hungry boy. We'll get back to that. And he meets a young waitress called Alma. She's from Eastern Europe. And they get on quite interestingly. There's lots of subtle body language and facial expressions in their first meeting. He orders a massive breakfast. Alma takes it all down. He then wants to keep the waitress ticket to see if she can remember all that. She does. She brings it to him. He eats, and he's a happy, hungry boy. He then asks her out, and it's the most bizarre story of everything, because is he asking her out just so that he can have a model for a dress? There's that angle. But is he asking her out to be a companion? We don't really know. And Alma, quite rightly, when they're going out on this long walk, says, whatever you're going to do it carefully. He likes to drive his fast car, but what tends to happen with him is he works and works and works and works, and then he collapses because of exhaustion and he has to take a couple of days off. We will get further into this. Cyril, his sister, is very level-headed, but she also likes to eat meat, which is very interesting. And basically, Alma comes back to Reynolds' house and he wants to make her a dress because he's a dressmaker. It's what he does. And the first scene of them in his world is just sublime. It's quite ASMR triggering. I know you can find it on YouTube and watch it. And what happens is he puts on the outline dress, pins it all, and then he gets like different colours and has a look and says, this one, how about this one is excellent, type thing. And he's like, do you mind if I then get your measurements? Alma says yes. Then Cyril turns up, creeps her out completely because she sniffs her mouth and says, you've eaten, you've had this, you've had fish. Quite creepy. Then Cyril takes the book, the measurement book, opens it, writes Alma down, and then as her brother is measuring her, Cyril writes all down all the measurements. And he then, and Alma started off really perky and then get quite depressed by this because it's so controlling and so confining, and she hasn't really got any power. And then Reynolds says, oh, you haven't got any breasts. And she's like, yeah, I know. And he's like, no, you're perfect. It's up to me to give you some, which is kind of creepy, but also hints at possible pregnancy. It's really, really kind of bizarre and creepy. And then Reynolds goes to put the ruler away, and then Alma is alone with Cyril, and Cyril says, you're the perfect shape. He loves a little belly. And you can see that Cyril has assessed both of them within that instant, and she just knows that Alma is going to fit. And it's quite interesting. So basically, she ends up coming to live in their big London townhouse where they do all their designing. She's got her own room, Reynolds has got his room, and Cyril's got her room, one presumes. Or she just lives in the office, we don't know. They go out to eat a lot. And then we have toxic man-child throwing his weight around. He just can't cope with any change to his routine. Like in the morning, he likes it quiet. And this is the time when Cyril, if she's got some big business news, she has to tell him, and it usually upsets him. But he doesn't like when Alma comes in and she's spreading her butter noisily and all of this. And then on the second morning that she's there, Cyril smiles when Alma spreads her butter really quietly because she's got it. Cyril can see that Alma is learning Reynolds, and Cyril can see that actually she's really quite good because she does challenge him. There's this another scene where she's wearing this really, really ugly fabric and she just doesn't like it, and she just says, no, I don't like it. And he's like, stop, and he just can't cope with that. As the story goes on, it gets to a point where you can see that he's either going to drop her and find a new muse, or their relationship's going to get more serious. And this is where it takes a really bizarre turn, because Reynolds is absolutely obsessed about his mother. As a child, he made his mother's second wedding dress. We don't know what happened to the wedding dress. Apparently they lost it. We don't quite know why. Even Reynolds can't remember what happened to it. Neither can Cyril. And Alma notices there's a princess that comes. He's done all her baptism, communion, and all sorts of other stuff. And Alma just feels like a left part on a shelf because she didn't get introduced. Because Cyril got introduced, Reynolds got introduced, the other seamstresses, the senior seamstresses got introduced, but not Alma. And Alma's actually done quite a lot. She was his lead photographic model for all his shows, all his pictures with Alma. He's sitting down, and is looking down up at her. It's quite interesting, that photo shoot that they do in the green dress, because Alma's the star and Reynolds is looking up at her adoringly, which is really quite fascinating for such a controlling man-child. But Alma doesn't get introduced, and she just feels like a spare part. And then Cyril brings it up, if you're going to make Alma a ghost, can we just get rid of her? And he says, do you want me to ask her to leave? And Reynolds is like, no. So they continue on, and then it comes to a head where Alma asks all of the staff to leave, and for her and Reynolds just to have an evening just to them at home, which is something he's not used to, because normally they go out for dinner. And then Cyril says, I really must advise against it. I really must. And then we deal with the most toxic of toxic masculinity explosions, where he's like, you're just besieging my life, you're ruining everything, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, well, where do I fit in? And he's like, well, you live here. And it's like, no, but where does she fit in officially? And Cyril can see the point that Alma is trying to make, but Reynolds can't, because he's a huge man-child. And what then happens is they then go to the countryside, and Alma learns from the housekeeper there about mushrooms. I know, it's a film about mushrooms. It's like me watching that episode of second series Hannibal, where the diabetics get put in the diabetic coma and have mushrooms growing on them. Oh, if you told me that she was going to poison him with mushrooms, it's like Munchausen by proxy that happens here, because she's noticed that when he's ill, Alma gets to take care of him and nurse him, and he's tender and he's loving. But when he's like strong, he's horrible and you just can't get to him. So Alma basically poisons him with mushrooms, and their relationship is saved. And it goes on, and then it all comes to a head. Basically, is he going to make Alma his wife? There's a scene where the doctor comes because he's sick again, and the doctor says, yes, Mrs. Woodcock, but he's talking both to his sister and to Alma, which kind of enforces the fact that Alma is going to be the future Mrs. Woodcock. They eventually get engaged and they get married, and she has to make him sick again with mushrooms, only this time Reynolds knows that the mushrooms make him sick. And all the flashbacks and flash forwards that we've had are Alma explaining to the doctor why this is happening, because he's cottoned on that something's not quite right. And she says, oh, it's all about patience, really. So all the way through, you think that Reynolds has been this controlling thing, when actually he's been completely played by his sister and his muse, who have basically cornered him into marrying Alma, making it official and having a baby, but that's later. Because what Alma is planning to do, one, she's a fast learner. Reynolds makes her a dress. Alma then makes her own dress. Reynolds compliments her on the dress, says it's really quite good. And what Alma is intending to do is she's intending to preserve his work, look after his dresses, and to keep everything going forwards. When Reynolds is poorly, he sees a vision of his mother in a wedding dress. And they've got a wedding dress for the princess downstairs that Reynolds basically falls on at the final inspection and scuffs it, and they have to sew all night, and both Cyril and Alma take charge because Reynolds is sick. Again, though not from the mushrooms. Or is he from the mushrooms? He gets sick twice from mushrooms. It's just weird. Don't eat mushrooms, people. And also don't enter relationships that require you to be nursed by your partner, preferably by mushrooms that make you ill, because this is bringing into something like The Act. It's really kind of a strange relationship full of toxic masculinity and toxic femininity, if I'm absolutely honest. Reynolds' sister is a piece of work that is hard as nails. Absolutely adore Cyril. She reminds me of Mrs. Danvers or Grace Poole, the nurse in Jane Eyre. She's got that Mrs. Danvers from Rebecca type, archetype going on, only she's nicer. She's not trying to kill Alma. But that's what's so great about this film. You don't know where it's going to turn and what's going to happen. You've got three really compelling characters and every little moment is milked. It's like it's not about how she's wearing the dress, it's about the body language. It's like she wears this really, really nice strawberry dress and she goes out as a model and she's turning and doing everything and holding her number, but it's not for the crowds, it's for Reynolds, who's watching her through a little hole in the wall. It is all these little subtle moments that build their relationship. I mean, Reynolds is slow with the intimate act. We don't even see it at all. It's done behind closed doors, and it's only after that he's had a really, really good time and she's worn the dress that he made her is on, and it's just so subtle and so perfect. The performance of Daniel Day-Lewis is excellent. Yeah, we know. It is just a really, really good film. Anyway, I've talked far too long. Like, comment and subscribe. I would give it a 5 out of 5. The three leads are excellent. It is just so precise and so exact in what it's saying, and you're left quite unsettled by it, but also quite drawn in by it. It is really good. It's creepy, it's exciting, it's about relationships, how they work, why they work, and basically the redemption of a toxic man-child, which is normally impossible in life, in real life. It is quite worrying. It reminds me of The Act in some ways, that series. It reminds me of Jane Eyre and Rebecca. There are so many different layers to it. It is brilliant. I really enjoyed it. Like, comment and subscribe. Let me know what you thought of The Phantom Thread. And thank you for the support. Bye!